In today's video, I'll try to explain something to you that's very often overlooked when you're just starting to learn scripting, and it's actually a very basic advice, but for some reason a lot of the new developers don't really learn it until they're in the middle of their developing journey. And this might not be true for you, maybe you already mastered this, but I know for sure that there are tons of developers out there who don't actually use this feature at all, and if you're one of them, you should definitely learn it because it's 100% more efficient and it's definitely very useful. Okay, so the thing I'm talking about is, well, actually, let's give you an example. Okay, so first of all, I'll spawn in a part, I will anchor it, and let's add a proximity prompt, very basic thing. Let's add a script inside of it. We can literally do the most basic thing, script.parent.triggerEnded connect function, and then we get the player, which is actually not that even important. And we can do print script.parent.parent.name. And just to make it more understandable for you, I will just cut this, do local part equals, and then this. So we get our part, and then we get its name and print it. So let's hop into the game. Okay, so here it is. Let's open our output. And when I click E, it says part. Of course, that's because its name is part. And now you probably understand this. This is pretty simple. It's probably the most basic function you can think of. But let's do another thing. And maybe I just realized maybe printing its name wasn't exactly the best example I could give, but I think it should work just fine for this. And let's do part 2. And since we are at it, let's just recolor these so we know, so we can tell them apart, so we know which one is which. And I will even add a third one. And actually, let's do yellow, green, and red. So now if I jump back into the game, if I click on the red, it says red. This one says green, and this one yellow. Again, this is pretty basic. I just copied it. I didn't do anything unusual. You're probably very familiar with cloning stuff. So let's add a script in the server script service. First, let's do for underline, comma, part, in pairs, workspace, get children. You can even use get descendants if these are inside of models or something like that. I mean, you probably, this is not really a good way to do this, so don't make this practice inside of your game if you're actually working on game. We only have 3 parts here, so that's why I'm doing workspace colon get children. And then we can do if part find first child, which is a proximity prompt, do part dot actually I will just copy this whole line, and we might as well actually make a variable to that, and then proxy dot trigger and then connect function. We can also get player, why not? Then part dot name, and actually I forgot one thing, is print part.name. And now again, it basically does the exactly same thing, except it's in one script rather than in 3. And I know you probably also knew this. It's pretty simple stuff. Let's add another one, and you might even see where I'm going with this. Let's rename it Blue. And now Blue, he's very unique. He's special, not in that kind of way special, but he has a click detector. And let's just recolor this so we know it's blue. You have this one script which, okay, it's pretty good. It works alright, and what you could even do is you use like a tag service or a collection service, whatever you wanna call it, and then tag all of these. I already have a video on that, so if you wanna check that out, you can just go and find it on my channel. But basically, get all the things that are tagged, and then where triggered, blah blah, it does things. But that's still kind of a problem because this one is a click detector and this is a proximity prompt, so obviously they're not triggered the same way. What I was talking about earlier in the video is that this part is very often overlooked. Well, at least I know I overlooked it majorly when I just started out. Yeah, I'm talking about the module scripts. Let's be honest, I'm talking about the module scripts. When I just started out, they seemed pretty scary to me. Like, I'd see these huge scripts, I don't know what's going on. There was a ton of very weird stuff. I just didn't understand how it all worked. How do we get some table things? Okay, this is actually a pretty bad table. Okay, now it's better. But yeah, basically tons of very weird stuff. I didn't know how to access it. I didn't know what to do with it. And basically I will now explain you how the modules work and why you should use them. So previously, when I just started out, majority of my scripts were server. Okay, some were local, but local scripts I still use a lot of them because it's for the GUIs. But now I have like, I don't know, maybe 5 server scripts to 10, maybe 15 to 20. if it's like a pretty big project. And other than that, I only use module scripts. So everything is basically in the module scripts, and it runs much faster, much smoother, and it does a better job overall. And now, if you don't know what module scripts are, they have, of course, this purple icon. When you just spawn it in, it says module script. It's pretty obvious. But what they do, you're able to exit them from a pseudo script or a local script even. So it doesn't really matter for which purpose you make it. You can use it on both. Of course, if you have like a function, so module.new something, and here you put like a player and then something else, another instance. If that instance isn't accessible, of course, on both sides, of course, then you can't use it on both sides, but that's kind of besides the point. Yeah, actually, let's just do a new function. We actually need a part here. So yeah, I will just quickly show you how this can be really used in a really good way. I mean, this is a pretty basic thing like printing stuff, but I hope this kind of gives you an idea what all the things you can use them for. So how you make a function that's accessible from the server or the local script or actually client. So if you do just a function and then a module's name, so what I like to do is, for example, part print module, if we rename it like this, and I copy the name and then I paste it here. So just so while you're in the script, you know what the module script is for. So I kind of rename it always. Okay, and now you can put here basically anything, like, I don't know, create new print for part. So it can literally be, I think, as long as you want. I don't know, probably it has maybe a limit of like, I don't know, 100 characters or something like that, but you get the point. I'll just rename my mine.new because it's the most simple way to do it. And now let's do, I don't know, just print part.name. So again, this is a pretty simple example, like you won't be using the module scripts. I mean, I don't know, maybe you will. Maybe you will use them just for printing for now. But as you grow more as a developer, you'll probably do a very large scripts of probably like hundreds of lines of code, and yeah, it will be pretty useful for when you need to do the same thing over and over in your game, but from like a different, let's say, perspective, like using a different thing to access it or to trigger it, such as here I'm using a click detector and here a proximity prompt. So now how do we actually get to this module script? So you probably think, I don't know, part print module equals, let's just make this also capital so it looks nice, and then again .replicate storage parts print module. So let's try to do this now. Okay, and then we do this, then you do your old thing .new, but then you see it kind of doesn't come up, which is weird. Well, that's because you don't actually access it like this. To access the module scripts, you need a special thing called require. To use them, returns the value that was returned by the given module script. So you need to use the require, and then you can obviously paste the path inside of it. And then when I go to type new, you can see that it kind of highlights and it comes up as a function. And in here we can just put a part, and that's pretty much it. And now of course it also prints, but now we need to actually make this work for the click detector as well. Okay, so go back to your server script. We can just edit this a bit. So add this up here, and we can do if proxy, then do this, else if, or actually probably click detector, and then okay, which is a click detector, else if click, then click dot mouse click connect function. You can also put player, but it doesn't really matter. Part print module dot new, and then put part again. So this way, instead of writing a whole new server script, I can basically do the exact same thing, and it doesn't really matter what trigger it has. So as you can see, it printed out the blue, even though this is a click detector, and this, for example, is a proximity prompt. Okay, so that's a pretty simple thing. So I will just show you how you can add something a bit more advanced. So for example, let's do local explosion equals instant.new explosion. I mean, this is also pretty simple as well, but I don't want this video to be too long, and it's not about a specific system for the module script, so it doesn't really make sense. Parent equals part explosion. Okay, so now you can see when I trigger it. Damn, I'm dying for a long time. Okay, So we can click this one and it works. Of course you can spam it a lot since this doesn't have any debug system, but you get the point. You can basically trigger the exact same thing using different methods by just using a module script to make something happen. So that's it from this video. I just want to show you, if you're a new developer, how to use module scripts and that they are very useful and not actually something to be kind of scared of. So if you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe, and thanks for watching.